Oh. Hey. Good evening, Felix. How are you doing?
Hello, Toby. Long time no see. I'm doing great. Oops, excuse me. I just came back from a restaurant that had great burgers. We should go there next weekend.
Oh, I forgot I haven't told you. I've recently been trying to go on a low-meat diet.
Oh, I didn't know you wanted to be vegetarian, Toby. You're not even fat. Why do you want to go on a diet?
Well, recently I've just really been thinking about how we get all of our animal products in the supermarket. Normally we just buy whatever we feel like having and we don't think twice about where it came from or how it got there.
Are you one of those pesky people, Toby? I never would have guessed.
Haha, I didn't mean it like that. Plus, I wouldn't try to make you go on a futile guilt trip. Don't worry. Sometimes I just think about how there are still people today that genuinely believe that animals can't feel a thing. Especially pain.
Well, it's a tough reality to face, Toby. There isn't very much we can do about that situation.
That's true, but it doesn't make it less cruel and illogical. Don't you think animals are sentient beings?
Well, yeah, but just because of that you want to avoid amazing hamburger joints. There's no way we can really stop the entire meat production of the food business.
I know, getting rid of that sort of thing entirely will probably never happen. At least not in our lifetime. I just like to think that purchasing less meat will make a small impact in its own way.
Even so, I think you're thinking too hard about it. Don't worry, just enjoy what's out there, right? Your life's too short to be spending on such difficult things to change.
I suppose you're right. But the least I want to do is to get people to realize that they don't have to torture animals just for the heck of it. Just like there's starvation occurring in the world at this moment, there is a holocaust for the animals taking place in many regions of the world, but people don't really care because animals don't have the same value as people.
I think I see what you're getting at, but how would you even begin to convince people of that? It sounds like you've forgotten how stubborn people can be.
Well, the least I want to do is to get some people to realize is that animals can be self-aware.
Self-aware? You mean the way people get when they're nervous?
Sort of. You're thinking of being self-conscious. What I mean is that there are plenty of intelligent animals out there that display characteristics very much like ours, especially when they are placed in front of mirrors.
You mean monkeys? Aren't they the only animal that are really similar to humans? You know, besides our rugged good looks and all.
Yes, sort of. Did you know that dolphins, elephants and even some birds display exceptionally high levels of self-awareness?
No, I didn't, but why does that matter?
When a creature is self-aware, Felix, not only does it mean that they are intelligent, but it means that they are much more human-like than what we originally thought. Wouldn't this fact make it a little more tragic that people go around abusing animals like this for their skins and meat?
I guess you have a point.
See?
Okay, so some animals can be self-aware. Does that really change anything?
It should. Some of these animals were self-aware enough to make decisions people would consider moral.
Oh, really? How do you know that's not really a coincidence?
Well, it's hard to really say that for sure, but what I do know is that if creatures can make decisions like humans, it would only be logical that they be considered more like us, right?
Yeah, I think.
Anyway, I read some studies that were done on macaque monkeys not too long ago, and it was really interesting because the researchers had set it up similar to the Stanley Milgram study.
Oh, is that the one study where people were chosen to electrocute other people?
Yes. Only instead of having actual people being shocked, only recordings of a person pretending to receive a shock were played. But that was unknown to the participant, of course. So in that study, researchers required participants to ask a person in another room questions from a survey. Every time the questionee would get an answer wrong, the participant could administer shocks that gradually grew in intensity as they got further on in the survey.
Right. I remember that. And it turned out that most participants administered lethal shocks on the questionnaire without really considering their state of being.
Exactly. It was ridiculous. Even though the participants could hear the other person cry out in pain and telling them to stop, they would go forth with electrocuting them without a second thought. Or you could say it went that way because the researcher had told them to do it.
Yeah, people are messed up.
Indeed. Unfortunately, we might have done the same thing if we were in the participants' shoes.
Probably. What does that have to do with the monkey study again?
Oh, right. So macaque monkeys were studied in a similar way, only instead of sitting monkeys in front of machines, they were shown that if they pull a lever in a room, they would be rewarded with food. The difference was that instead of hearing recordings of another monkey crying out in pain from shocks, the monkey pulling the chain could see the other monkey through a one-way mirror as it was shocked. It turned out that the macaque monkeys eventually figured out that they were harming the monkey they could see through the mirror, and that about 83% of them would stop pulling the chain altogether and made themselves go hungry instead.
Whoa! That's pretty impressive. I wouldn't have expected that to happen between monkeys.
I know, right? Can you believe that? I don't know about you, but I know my fair share of people who definitely would not do that for a stranger.
Wow, I had no idea. Did researchers find anything else?
Well, all of the animals I mentioned earlier underwent a mirror test. Basically what happened was that dolphins, magpies, elephants and monkeys were individually exposed to mirrors in their habitat, while scientists had marked them with a harmless dye somewhere on their body that they could only see with the mirrors. It turned out that these animals often and swiftly realized that what they were looking at in the mirrors were themselves instead of a potential enemy. This is very rare among animals, but it is there nonetheless.
I guess that is good evidence to see animals more as equals, but earlier what did you mean by value?
What I meant was about the value of the mind and life. For centuries people have spent their lives trying to figure out what life or the meaning of it is. There were philosophers that truly believed that all living things should be treated fairly, especially since all living creatures' life is sustained by the same mysterious force it's always been. I don't see why people can't keep believing that now.
I suppose you are right, my friend. Maybe if you wrote some sort of a speech and announced it at the town square, you could get some people to think a little harder next time they come across an animal. Let's start small and go to the Open Mic Cafe this Friday. I hear they have the best muffins.
Okay. Maybe even with some luck I'll end up on TV.
Let's not get our hopes that high about it, Toby. Ha ha.
Ha ha, whatever.